Risks. Our brain is hardwired to avoid them.
But without taking risks, we'll never be able to step into who we're meant to be and experience the richness life has to offer.
In this episode, we'll explore why comfort zones destroy our spirit and how not taking a risk is a risk in itself.
We share our personal stories along with practical tips in the hope they encourage and inspire you to take even a little leap of faith.
Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way. Hello, Claire and James here, the Midlife Mentors. How are you doing?
So we are coming to you, well, obviously it won't be live, but we're coming to you from Marbella.
It's live for you.
Live for you. So just to set the scene, we're here to run one of our retreats. We're relaxing on our balcony as the sun shines down through palm trees in the semi-tropical forest of the Punta Romano Resort.
Are you jealous yet? Because, I'll tell you what, one of the little British factoids for you. It's been the wettest February in the UK for 150 years. So, quite pleased to get on the plane this morning, to be honest, and leave it all behind.
And us being us, of course, we got up very, very early this morning, got the plane, got here, and we went straight to the gym and smashed a really hard workout because we love to move our bodies and stay healthy.
Yeah, I felt really sluggish after the plane, and actually some of the people that now feel like our family, the staff here, they're so lovely, and they were like, "You've just arrived, why are you working out? You're on holiday." And we're like, "No, we're not really, we're working," and we do probably need to get a life.
Although after this we will shower because we are a bit smelly.
I'm not smelling, I smell of roses.
And we'll take a little promenade along the beach, maybe have a cheeky glass of wine. But I could not convince Claire to do the traditional British start of holiday of 8 pints at Wetherspoons in the airport at 5 in the morning.
Dear James, you'd only be able to handle half.
That's true. True story.
Guys, we're really excited to talk to you about this today. We're going to talk to you about risks. And I think the reason, well, there's a few reasons, but it's twofold. One is we are currently in our lives, and actually pretty much are all the time since we've been together and before that, we are the type of people that do take a lot of risks. In comparison to everyone else's life, we probably seem like we take a lot of risks. And at the moment, currently, we are about to launch something really, really exciting that we have been working on for a long time. And
just because being co-authors on a book and launching a podcast and deciding to gravitate to moving more time in London and launch corporate wellness and start servicing corporate clients with our app, as well as running our existing retreat business and coaching individual clients, wasn't enough. We thought, no, we'll launch something else as well.
No, stop that. What we'll do, we'll launch something else. That's what we'll do. So, we've taken a big financial risk, and we have risked actually putting ourselves away from other elements of our business, truth be told, and focusing on this. And also, just everything's gone by the wayside for this thing, but we believe in it so much that it's going to be worth it, and we're so excited in a couple of weeks to be putting it out into the world so we can help more people. So that's one of the reasons we are taking huge risks, as always. And also, at midlife, I've said this before in some of the other podcasts. If you haven't listened to them all, go back and listen. But we have said, as we progress in life, we become more risk adverse. And we've said that, we used to play to win as we were growing up in our 20s and 30s. And now we play not to lose, because we've started to define ourselves with all the things that we have accumulated and all the status and, our own self-identity.
And listen, just to make it clear at the start, make a difference here. This is about calculated risks or educated risks you take to move your life forward, not the kind of adrenaline of, I wonder what would happen if I don't turn up to work for a week and go bodyboarding in Maui. without telling anyone.
James has done that.
With raw meat tied to my ankle to see if a shark attacks. Not that type of risk.
Oh my God. This is why I'm terrified of James's mind sometimes. I'm like, I don't even want to have an insight. No one wants an insight to that, James.
No one wants an insight to that. So about calculated risk moving forward. And actually, it made me think, just sitting here now reflecting, I painted that scene at the start of us sitting on the balcony here, and we're so fortunate. But it's a result of risks that Claire and I have both taken, like, individually and together. I took a massive risk to walk away from a corporate job and move to Ibiza and set up a fitness business. Claire took a massive risk on
moving out to Ibiza and
joining me, and we took a massive risk on launching in Marbella as well when we had something good going in Ibiza. But those are risks that have paid off for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think why are we talking about risk as well is because as we get older, we do define ourselves by the things that we have around us, and the things that we think about ourselves, and it's quite difficult to imagine our lives being any different. But this is where boredom comes from. This is where apathy and just getting stuck in a rut where you feel like you're on a hamster wheel. It is genuinely because you are not moving yourself forward. It's because you're not taking risks. And what we're saying here is, like, risks when you don't know the outcome. That's what a risk is to us, where you cannot calculate and 100% know, not even necessarily 5% know, what the outcome is going to be, but you still go for it and you still take the risk. And we see this time and time again with clients, that they are stuck because they're not moving forward by stepping into the unknown at all. And that's no way to live, and we know that, and that's why we're talking about risk today. And we want to kind of soothe you into understanding why it's a good thing to take risks, guys, and open yourself up to a whole new world and a whole new self.
Yeah, I mean, as human beings, we're designed to grow, and we grow when we push our boundaries. I'm not sure who said it, but they said, like, the most dangerous thing on this world is, I think they said routine, or there's another version of that that's like being comfortable.
Yeah.
So being comfortable makes you stop growing and striving for more. When you're comfortable, listen, I know from personal experience, when you are down and out in a really bad situation, you are going to grow because you want to get yourself out of that. When you're flying, it becomes kind of addictive and you want to carry on chasing that. The most dangerous thing is being stuck in the middle, like comfortable. Everything's comfortable. You've got no real worries. Everything's easy. It's just like kind of like, oh, you don't want to sit back, but you're not fussed about going forward. And that's I get it. It's comforting. It's like having like a nice warm fluffy blanket around you, but
there's that niggling feeling. And you might know what we're talking about here. There's that niggling feeling of apathy and boredom. So, don't worry too much, because advances in brain imaging technology has actually shown that humans are hardwired to be risk averse. We are, of course we are. Our ancestors took many risks. They'd go out on the plains of Africa, and there was risks here, there, and everywhere. And obviously, they're like, I'm not going to keep putting myself in that situation over and over again. We are hardwired as humans to try and look after ourselves and protect ourselves.
Yeah, exactly that. We are. It's an evolutionary trait. You could argue that risk is actually being bred out of the human race because
absolutely.
The sensible ones survive.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear God, that doesn't hold up much hope for us, does it?
No, I don't mean that in a negative way.
No, though. I know.
Because if we look at all the advances that have been made, essentially, if you look at any field, it's people willing to take a risk. People going, I don't accept the status quo here. There needs to be another way of doing this or something else that we can achieve from it.
Absolutely.
We'll dig into some of those a little bit later.
I think as a society as well, we've become very addicted to conformity and group thinking. With the rise of social media and the impact it has on our lives, everyone wants to be the same. Or not necessarily even wants to be the same. You don't even know you're wanting to be the same, but going outside the status quo and opening our mouths and saying something different, it actually seems scarier now because it's so on the world scale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one thing I would say, us Generation Xers, us midlifers, we also grew up with baby boomer parents, and that's another huge impact on our generation, don't you think?
Yeah, psychologically it's fascinating. So we can understand, and these are stereotypes, so we don't want to go too much by them, but baby boomers are very risk averse. They've done very well out of the economic stability and growth post two world wars. But of course, the reason they were risk averse was that they grew up in a very uncertain and fast changing world. Their parents had known the two most destructive wars on the planet, the Great Depression. So of course they were hardwired in to seek security and safety from that psychological experience. It'd be really interesting to see what the generations coming after us, what their experience is. But for us Gen Xers, we've had to deal with the kind of state of flux. As we hit the job market, that whole idea of the job for life was gone.
Yeah.
We're seeing the digital age come. I think we were reading something today, weren't we? That our generation is probably a generation that remembers computers. Schools didn't have computers, or you had a computer lab with a few machines sat there, and you're trying to learn coding at best.
Yeah.
And if we look how the world is now, we're not talking that long a time. Digital is integrated into everything. You've got smart fridges, smart vacuum cleaners.
Think about this, guys. This is what I was writing a post on it. This is where this came from. It's actually my post, James. I was reading you my post. Let's really think about this. We are the last generation that didn't know digital. Let's just think about that. There'll be no other generation after us that remembers a time of non-digital.
I'll tell you what, Claire, thank goodness there were no camera phones in the 90s.
You and your raves.
Many memories, no evidence.
No evidence, I love that quote. So let's just dive a little bit deeper, because we are going to share some of our own stories of, what our experience around risk has been. But let's just think about some of the main reasons for not risking. We've touched on some of them. There's four main reasons that we don't like to take risks. And that's number one is we overestimate the probability of something going wrong. In the sense that we use our imagination negatively. So imagination is our most powerful gift. It's like a magic gift, okay? Everything that we now see, other than the natural world, was once imagined in someone's mind. So it can be used for the most creative, amazing, powerful things that change the world. We can also use our imagination in a really negative way that pulls ourselves down. And we're basically looking at the worst case scenarios. And that is kind of what we seem to be hardwired to be doing a lot these days. This constant fear factor. Whatever you think about the coronavirus, the media, the press, there is an enormous amount of fear around it. And we're using our imaginations almost to imagine the worst case scenarios. What if this? What if that? What if this? And although that has its part to play sometimes, we've got a wasp that's just come.
Yeah, speaking of risks, a massive wasp has just flown up to us.
I don't mind wasps.
He's all right.
He'll go in a minute. But yeah, we're using our imagination a lot of the time when we're thinking about wanting to do something, and we imagine the worst case scenario. So it actually completely halts us in our tracks.
Yeah, exactly. I think, as Claire said, as human beings, we're hardwired into that. It's a survival thing. What's the worst case scenario? The trouble is, a lot of us then let our imagination run away with that worst case scenario when it's not actually that rational or probably that likely. Yeah. And then from there, we tend to exaggerate the consequences of it going wrong. And we've all done this, all experienced this. Think, if that thing's happened, and you kind of go to the logical thing that would happen as a result, and then before you know it, you've gone off on some fairy tale you've concocted to yourself. Where
I know, and we all do it. We've all done it. So number one is overestimating the probability of something going wrong, and in turn exaggerating the consequences of it going wrong. And the third one is we underestimate our ability to handle it if we take a risk and it doesn't work. We really don't give ourselves credit for, taking those steps forward, because we just don't believe in ourselves. We don't have that trust in ourselves that we'll actually handle it if it doesn't work.
I think that's a toughie. You know what? I think that only comes from experience. So I'm thinking of a very good friend of mine who has worked at a number of things and started a number of businesses, and I'm sure he would be the first to admit that he basically had shocker after shocker, various things went wrong, most of them not in his control or his fault, that it was failed business after failed business. Now he is hugely successful,
amazing,
internationally successful, but that is off the back of him taking risks and learning. So, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Some risks we take pay off. Some risks we do go wrong. But the thing is, when they go wrong, you learn from that, and it helps you build resilience. And my point here about my friend is, probably he wouldn't be where he is now doing what he's doing if he hadn't had those failures before. But then that's also educating him into taking risks. Yeah, has a payoff down the line.
Well, they say, don't they? And I know we'll tell our story, and we're starting to tell our story a lot more, even through these podcasts. But they say, oh yeah, it was a 20-year overnight success. It's all that stuff that's going on the surface, all the failures, all the dark times, all the crying, all the wanting to quit and give up. We've been there at points, we're still there, and we keep trucking on because we know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we have these people in our world, thankfully, that are shining beacons of light going, okay, it was years of trial and error. And now I'm finally here, and we always believe that we're going to make it. So I think that's the most important thing. Always. And the last one is we discount, this is really important, guys.
Massive.
Discount the cost of staying where you are. So if you're sitting there listening to this, you're discounting the cost of staying where you are if you don't take that step forward and you don't take that quote unquote risk. It's we bury our head in the sand basically, and we make excuses for not taking those risks. But if you look back, it's probably got worse over time. So there's something that you might have always been wanting to go after, but the risk, all those reasons, have really been holding you back. But if you look back, actually, over 6 months, a year, 3 years, it could be way longer, it's probably actually getting worse for you over time. So that's what we're saying. You're discounting the cost of staying where you are. It's really, really costing you a lot.
I think I'm going to give you two illuminations on this point. So the first one is we talked about before, just being comfortable. And that's a really dangerous place to be. So the comfort, and that's when you start to playing not to lose rather than playing to win. But the other one that I've certainly seen, I know you have, Claire, is people actually being deeply unhappy in the situation they're in. But that unhappiness becomes comfortable in a way, and in their heads they imagine the risk of changing it is too great. But they're not looking at the opportunity cost, i.e. the cost now of how miserable they are and how miserable their current situation is. So be really, really aware of that. I mean, it's a big one, and we get it a lot with our clients. So they want to make changes, but they're not really accepting the cost of not changing is greiter than taking the risk to change.
I'll give you an example in my life. No, James has given an example of himself and also a close friend of ours. But, one of the stories I tell about myself is trying to get out of PR for such a long time. And I would put a step forward and I would do something and take almost like a quarter risk. So I'd dip my toes in something, freak out, mainly kind of around money and security. I had my own mortgage and everything. And then I would just retreat. And the thing is, that was costing me. That did cost me time. Everything happens for a reason. I genuinely believe that. Everything unfolds in exactly the right time. But it did cost me time and energy where I had to keep restarting over and over and over again until I was fully, fully ready to take the risk. And here's the thing, we're never fully ready to take the risk, guys. Ever, ever. You have to jump. You have to jump and just see where it takes you, because there's going to be no right time and you're never going to be ready. So it was costing me, my happiness, my goodness, my self-worth. Every time I dipped my toe in and retreated, I just lost my confidence. So, that was one of my costs from a story of not taking a risk and then retreating.
Oh, I think something that's worth note there, Claire, I've seen this as well a lot, is people want to take the risk but they're afraid of taking the risk, so they kind of half take the risk.
Well, that's what I was doing.
They dabble.
Yeah.
They dabble. And here's the thing,
can't dabble.
I think a lot of coaches will tell you, oh yeah, have a plan B, definitely, or try this thing for a bit and see how it works out, with minimal investment of your time and money, which I get it. It's the sensible approach. But my personal experience and people that I have seen 100%. Is you need to be all in on something. If you're going to take that risk, then properly take it.
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that you said that. And that's exactly where, anyone that knows me that listens to this podcast, I went all in with James. I mean, I gave up my flat, rented out my flat. I gave up my job in Surrey. I put myself into this relationship when it was really difficult, and some people had serious doubts from both of our sides about whether it was ever going to work, and I went all in, as did James. I moved over to Ibiza. I totally, it's not like I had a plan B. I didn't have another James sitting there, because there is no other James. But it's so true what you said. You have to go all in. You can't. I dabbled, with so many risks for about 14 years, guys, and absolutely beautiful what you just said.
It's true. It's true.
So, why should we take risks? We kind of covered some of this stuff, but massively boost confidence. Listen, guys, every risk I've ever taken, I have had my confidence boost from it. We are taking huge risks now. Even when I do a live, when I first started doing lives on my Facebook page, it was a risk. I felt scared, putting myself out there. We're taking, risks all the time, and I am building confidence piece by piece. And I know you won't all necessarily believe this, but that confidence isn't innately in me. You have to go out and start cultivating it. So, then there's a feedback loop. And you're like, oh, okay, that worked out all right. I can do that again.
Yeah, by taking a risk, by default, we are pushing our boundaries of what we're comfortable with. I don't like the word comfort zone, but we're pushing our boundaries. So every time we do that, we're extending them a little further, which is like, expanding our boundary field, making us more confident. And whether we get success or failure from the risk, we're getting a feedback loop on that as well.
Absolutely, and on that, it makes us feel alive. We're supposed to feel alive, people. We're supposed to celebrate life. We're here to evolve. We're not here to just be bored. So it makes us feel alive. We also learn from everything that we do. Everything that's ever happened to us, we've learned from. And when you take a risk, it takes you on a new path that you might not have thought about before. Again, I know this has happened to me. I've taken a risk and there's been a fork in the road and it's taken me somewhere completely different that I wouldn't have even dreamed of. We think we have it all figured out and, we're really rigid in our plans, but by taking risk and taking a step forward into the unknown, it unfolds like a whole magical world that you haven't even thought about.
True. I mean, I was going to throw some stuff out there. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head now, people have taken risks and we all accept them now. And looking back, the crazy thing is when you look at risks that pay off in a big way, they don't seem risky. The Wright brothers. People pretty much believed it was impossible for an aircraft that was heavier than air, i.e. not a balloon, to fly. Yet they did it. And look at the world of aviation we have now. Someone like Nikola Tesla, genius, but he could have just sat there and done nothing, or made a load of money, like making something that people needed. But he was always how can I innovate and create? Even look at Edison on the other flip side of the coin with the light bulb. He could have just given up. Let's keep with candles or gas lamps. People took risks. Edison was risking when he did this, and every great achievement has been a risk of some sort in human endeavour.
Absolutely, and get that piece around creativity. We're supposed to be creative beings. We're supposed to move forward. We're not supposed to stand still. Also, on that, success doesn't just fall in your lap, guys. You're not gonna find success or fulfillment by sitting there watching Love Island or scrolling through Instagram or watching the news all the time and obsessing over things. You have to pursue your dream. And you have to believe that it's possible. And that does mean going and taking a risk. It also stops us fearing failure. So here's the thing. When you take a risk and it doesn't work out, and trust me, I have had plenty, so has James, when you fail and you're on the floor and you get back up again, somehow, and you're doing a dark, dark night of the soul, you do start trusting that things work out for your good. Things work out for your good. And that actually, whether you're religious or not, there is a higher force looking after you that's got your back. And in fact, in our experience, failure isn't the end of the success at all. It's actually the very beginning. Because you grow, you move, you expand. And then you can help others do exactly the same.
Exactly. I mean, I say failure is horrible. Failure is horrible.
Oh, it's disgusting.
But failure is only failure if you don't learn from it.
Yeah.
So, just regard every failure as a lesson.
Yeah.
And get something from it.
I also think I'm obsessing over Russell Brunson at the moment, who's a marketing guru, and he said something in a podcast I listened to today on the plane, and he was basically saying that actually every part of your journey is getting you ready for what you're supposed to do on this planet.
Well, I must say, I believe it was Churchill that said, "Show me a man who hasn't failed, and I'll show you a man who hasn't tried."
Yeah.
Meaning,
It's
like,
getting you ready.
as long as when we're trying stuff, we're going to fail.
It's for us,
But
we've had
from it.
loads of failures, even in our relationship together, and that's really hard because we're in it together, and you have to keep picking yourself up. But it's building our resilience and our character, and it's making us ready for our moment. It really is, and that's what taking risks does. So,
tips.
Always ending with some tips, guys. We really hope that's helpful. Just sharing some of our highs and lows of risks and stuff. But we're always going to try and end up with some practical ways that you can start having a look at where you can take some calculated risks. But firstly working out where you're at. So, I'm going to ask you a question. If you're sitting down, go and grab a pen and a paper and do this now. Because what we don't do now, we just get put off and then it gets sidelined and life happens, okay? So if you're not driving, just grab a piece of paper and a pen and do this now. Ask yourself, if I was sure my risk would work out, how would I feel and behave? Say that again. If I was sure my risk would work out, how would I feel and behave? Really get into the place, visualize it, like get into that total future pacing of that risk having totally worked out. That's question 1.
Okay, question 2. In 1 year's time, what is the cost to my happiness, my bank account, my relationships, my children's lives, my health, my career, whatever, if I don't take this risk? What is the cost to me if I don't take this risk?
Be realistic with yourself, guys. Don't put sticky plasters on it. Don't go into denial. Be really honest. Look back and think about what it already has cost you and think about what the cost is if you do nothing about this in another year. Oh, this is deep stuff, isn't it? Oof.
I like it.
Oof. And finally, what small thing can I do in the next 48 hours? The emphasis is on small thing I can do in the next 48 hours that will boost my confidence and take me a step towards taking an even bigger risk. Listen, guys, it's small steps. As James said, we're not saying like tie a bit of meat to you and swim with sharks. We're not saying put your house. We're really not, because that's just we really didn't need that inside. We're also saying don't put your house up for sale to go and pursue a dream if you've got 2 kids. We're not saying that. What we're saying is just start getting used to taking a few steps forward outside, again, hate this word, but outside your comfort zone that makes you feel a bit, edgy. That made me feel alive. That was fun. Just take a couple of those and start seeing, starts getting a little bit addictive.
Yeah. I mean, someone was saying, you'll know whether you've got like a nagging idea that's a bit crazy, that actually when you drill into it, you know what, that's not a great idea. And we've all had them,
James still does these on a regular basis, God love him. And sometimes I'll follow them, and then halfway down the rabbit hole, I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute, this is full of, you haven't thought this one out, have you, matey? And it's like that. Oh, no, I didn't.
But speaking of experience, and what I
love that about him.
What we're working on now is, you will have something that is just like, does keep nagging me. It's like, this is a thing, I have to get out there in the world. This. Because it's going to make me feel different. It's going to make people I care about feel different. People I've never met, it's going to make them feel different. It's going to change people's lives. And you know that if you don't follow it, there's always going to be that, what if? Maybe I should have. What if I had done it? There's no certainty in this life. You know what? There's no certainty in this life. Certainty is death. Yeah. Sorry to break it to you, certainty is death. We all crave certainty and security.
Death of the soul.
There is no certainty at all. So if there is something in you that you feel really strongly with, that you're emotionally connected to, then really do look at that. What the cost is if you don't follow it.
Well, it's really interesting. Oprah Winfrey, I do love that lady. She said, so it'll come along. This thing that we're talking about here, it'll come along and it'll give a little tug at your heartstrings. It'll get a little tug on the heartstrings. Don't laugh, James. A little, and you'll go it's a little whispering of, notice me. I sound like Gollum. Notice me. It's asking you to notice it. And what most of us do, and I did this for 14 years, believe me, I know how this feels. I was like, no, all right then, I'll listen to you a little bit. No, I'm too scared. And then what happens is that knocking gets louder and louder and louder. And then all of a sudden, it's a frigging avalanche in your life and you cannot keep ignoring it. That's why we take risks. So little steps, start getting used to this, because as James says, certainty is absolute death for the human soul and the human spirit.
Exactly. Hey, listen, thank you for your time on this, and we would love to hear from you about what you're going to do with this.
Yeah.
Like any plans you have. I'm not going to use the word risk anymore. Any plans you've got, things you would like to do that now maybe you're thinking of considering, we'd love to hear it, as always. So, you can get hold of us at themidlifementors.com.
Yeah.
Or info, or James or Claire at themidlifementors.com.
Absolutely.
And, we'd love to hear from you, so I hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah, and please share this with anyone that you feel would really benefit from it. And as always, if you're liking what you're hearing and you haven't given us a 5-star rating, please do so, because it really helps us get our message out into the world more. And having said that, in a few weeks' time, we will be announcing what we have been risking for a really long time, risking a lot on, and we're launching that in a couple of weeks, so we can't wait to share that with you. And we're sending you so much love. Big hugs.
Yeah. You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you, so drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under The Midlife Mentors. Yeah.